It's the Growler with PD&Jay. Here to analyze for you today. From Growler Bet to Jay's got stats. We hope you enjoyed this episode of the Growler Podcast.
All right. Welcome into the latest edition of PD&Jay on the Growler. Paul Daniel Jr., Jay Morrison here with you. Jay, I feel like we just did this.
Just a couple hours ago.
Just a couple hours. This might be a good record for us, like 3 shows in a 48-hour period, almost less than that. Not sure what our number is. We had the walkout on Sunday night, a rewatch, and now the next morning, here we are. But there's a whole different set of crap to sift through today. So
there always is.
There's a lot going on. And so we've got a lot for us to try to get to that we're going to do today. We have really 4 pieces of news that came out of a Newsy Monday that we want to kind of touch on in terms of what happened and where they all go. We'll have some stats with some of them. You probably know what they are by now. We have Higgins and the concussion protocol, Trey Hendrickson opting for surgery, Jermaine Burton being released, and the Bengals were deflexed out of their Sunday night football game. We'll kind of touch on all of those briefly. We'll have our Camargo Insurance run, pass, or boot, which is a doozy that might make some of you guys a little nauseous, but we're going to do it anyway. I think it's a good question. Mo Egger from ESPN 1530 is going to join us, and I think we need to talk about belief in the direction of the team right now. I feel like that's a good spot for us to hit up, so we're going to do that. Jay, you're going to have stats and some trivia.
Yeah,
I'm excited for that.
A surprise.
Growler bet. Yeah, a surprise.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh. I didn't know there was me surprised. I didn't know there were surprises. That's surprising. I'm excited. We're going to have your Growler bets that came in. We're going to go back through that, which was very interesting. A surprise there as well. And some ARBIES from the trip to Buffalo. So all of that coming your way. But before we get into that, I want to remind everybody our next live show is Sunday, and we look forward to this one all year long. The Christmas show at 10 o'clock at BetMGM at the Banks before the game against the Ravens. Myself, Jay, Mark will all be down there. It is the Christmas show. We're giving away anything you can imagine. We're giving away $1,000 in Bengals prizes. So tickets, we're going to have some greater shippers. We're going to have jerseys. We're going to have merchandise from the pro shop. BetMGM is throwing stuff in. You're going to have some Stanyo hats. Like we're gonna have it all, but all the extra. I'm going into the pro shop and I'm raiding it this week with all kinds of goodies that people love to get. And so all I can say is thank you guys for coming to our show and listening and watching the show all year. This is our way of giving a little bit back. We hope to see you guys down at BetMGM. We'll be there from 10 to 11, giving all of this stuff away, including tickets to the Bengals game against the Cardinals, so you can win those. All of that going on in our Christmas shows. I do feel like the way this season has gone, Jay, we should just kind of call it a Festivus show.
Yes.
And I think we bring the pole out of the crawl space for this one for an airing of the grievances. I think if you have grievances that you would like to air and you just need to get it off your chest, it feels like a good way for us to give away some stuff. The best grievances, I feel like, should win the best prizes. And I think we bring the poll out and we have an airing of the grievances at BetMGM.
I think as soon as we finish recording this, I'm going to go watch the Festivus episode of Seinfeld and just get caught up. I've seen it many times. It's always good to go back and rewatch it. I was thinking too when we were doing the walkout, is like, how could we do a cookies crumble contest to give away prizes? And now I'm wondering, can we give away a prize for the best orange pants, because the Bengals are going back to their orange pants on Sunday?
Oh, back, pulling out all the stops at this point.
That's not good.
No, it's not good. All right, let's go take them through the news here. Let's start with something that felt like maybe would never happen, but has. The Bengals released Jermaine Burton. I was like, wanted to say Is it a surprise? Is it not? It's not surprising that they would. It's maybe surprising that they did, because it felt like this could have or should have happened a year ago. At any point during the process where we've seen a million different things go wrong and the trust get broken between the team and Jermaine Burton, but they finally do after he comes up as suspended. We kind of hinted at this, the walkout, that this could be the precursor to something else coming on Monday or Tuesday, and they wasted no time and did end up waiving Jermaine Burton. Zach Taylor sort of saying, wishing him we wish him well. And maybe a change of scenery can help him. It clearly was over here. There's just been no coming back from the trust that has been repeatedly broken over time, and certainly during the course of this year.
Yeah, and I'm not surprised they waited till this year. You said you thought it might have happened last year. I mean, there's a long history of rookies screwing up on this team, in the league. There's guys on this roster that have had major missteps as rookies that have happened in the Zach Taylor era, and you hope they get that out of their system. And I especially when you invest a 3rd round pick in a guy that you would. I wasn't surprised they gave him another chance this year, but there were times when it seemed like he was close to getting back on the field, and then he would mess up again. And whatever it was this time was a final straw kind of thing. And it just felt like he had no interest in going to these road games. He has the ankle injury after a jog through before their Baltimore game, and doesn't travel. And then this game, whatever happened where he didn't make the trip. I mean, maybe he just didn't want to stand in the cold on the sideline for 3 hours, but whatever he did this time, they had seen enough. They finally pulled the plug. 4:00 today, we'll find out if he got claimed on waivers. If no one claims him, then he'll be free to sign anywhere he wants. I don't know that anyone's going to claim him. But this is where my surprise comes in. I woke up early this morning, and I endeavored to make a project, and it took me minutes. The quintessential Jermaine Burton highlight reel.
There it is. Oh, 1, 2, 3, 4 career receptions.
We can't even power rank his top 5 receptions with the Bengals. There's only 4.
There's only 4 of them. I mean, the Chiefs one was the one that gave you hope, right?
Yeah.
The one in Kansas City was like, okay, they've created a sub package of go run straight, where that can be an option, and he's great at chasing. The skills are there. You see the talent. But you didn't put in the incompletions. I will never forget in critical spots last year in Baltimore, throwing deep balls to Jermaine Burton.
Yeah.
Right. And being like, wow. The thing is, the biggest thing is, and there was a funny tweet someone sent me the other day that said, release the Burton files, Paul. And I think it's basically comes back to a consistent not showing up in different ways, literally, mentally, being invested, being there for your teammates. You sense teammates turning this year too, being like, whatever, man, that guy better not get opportunities, right?
Yeah.
That was kind of the sense you got, where before it was trying to help him along. I think people were trying to help him legitimately.
Even in training camp.
Yeah. You sensed people wanted it for him, but you got to want it for yourself. And when he had opportunities, despite everything that went wrong, there were chances this year where they opened the door for him. Okay, now you can have a chance. And he would not show up to something or not know anything that's going on in practice or whatever it is. You just can't live that way in this league. Like, it doesn't matter what kind of talent level you have. And when it goes on, and then it seems like you said, Jay, maybe it just feels like had no interest in playing in these recent weeks. It's over. So I mean, there was patience organizationally of being willing to give 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 10th chances to start rebuilding trust that was more patience than I ever would have had, but they gave it to him. And it's clear that there's no coming back from it between him, the organization, and anything that was going to happen here. And so they finally cut bait, which is kind of it's about time. It just needed to happen.
Yeah, and maybe it was a good move by him because if you think about it, he knew there was he was never going to play here. They were just counting the clock down to the season ended, and they were going to part ways with him. Now he does this. He kind of forces his way out. Maybe there's a desperate team that will claim him and say maybe he can give us a spark going in the playoffs, and as opposed to just waiting till the offseason. And I think teams would be a lot more reticent to sign a guy like that, bring him in OTAs, and so maybe this is the path where a team, I don't know if desperate's the right word, if there's an injury or if they just are looking for a deep threat spark heading into the playoffs, heading into the postseason. I'm sure the news is out there, what his problems have been, but you know, it's like the girls with the bad guys. Teams think they can change them.
And this one is moving on to a new relationship with a nice, reliable man named Mitchell. You know, that's they moved on. Gonna play it safe with Mitchell Tinsley. I hope Jermaine Burton finds what he needs. You know, no one here can specifically say what has transpired with Jermaine, but other than I hope he gets what he needs, because obviously the scouting report coming out, I'll never forget Dane Brugler just saying it's just everyone he's just different. There's just something different. And that ended up kind of being the case here. Let's move on to another receiver, T. Higgins, who is back into the concussion protocol. He goes back into the concussion protocol despite, you saw it on TV. If you watch the game, he takes a couple of hard hits where he bangs his head on the turf there in Buffalo. His first game off of the concussion, where he was basically knocked out cold against New England. And so he's back and then passes both of the tests from the independent neurologist, comes back into the game both times. And there was, the NFL and the NFLPA announced that they were going to look into the handling of this. And there were sort of suggestions like, oh, how could they let him back in? I want to make sure we're clear about this. These guardrails with the independent neurologists are set up this way for a reason, to specifically assure that you take, teams out of this essentially. And you kind of take the players out of this essentially too, with an independent neurologist that issues a baseline test and can say you're cleared to go back in, or he sees concussion symptoms and he takes their helmet away. It helps, it's important to have that. The NFL and NFLPA then issued a statement essentially saying everything was done right and correctly and there's no issues here. And that's what I had heard from the Bengals side as well. And so, but still, T after the game saying, I'm a warrior, I want to play. It wouldn't have mattered how much he wanted to be a warrior or a soldier to come back if they saw concussion symptoms in him when he went over, and they didn't. So I think it's just important to remember that. I think because there was a lot of, I don't know, the tone of stuff of like, oh, Bengals medical staff. Like, it's not really what this is, man. Like, that's not how the NFL takes concussion stuff way too seriously to think that one team trying to get a guy in there is how this works.
Yeah, it's the whole reason they came up with the red hat with the independent neurologist, because they were untrusting of team doctors. And I'm not a doctor, but I am curious. Number one, the first time when he smacked the back of his head looked so much like the play where he got the concussion against in the last game. And I just wonder, it was early in the game. And so two things early in the game. So your mind and your body aren't as fatigued. So maybe you're more alert and it's easier to pass the concussion protocol, the test they do in you. The other thing is in the cold. When it's that cold, does that make you more alert and more apt to pass the test? I am really concerned for T, because I'm stunned that he went back in. I'm not saying anything nefarious was done, but you are more likely to get a concussion after recently having one. And the fact that he took two shots and the one looked just like the one that knocked him out 2 weeks ago. You just worry about it, and I wonder if this protocol will take longer because of that, because now you're stacking them. It kind of goes back to the Tua conversation where he was having so many so close together, and the Bengals are where they are in this season, and I don't know that he would shut it down, but I do wonder if they're going to be extra cautious with this because they have invested a lot of money in him, and he's a young receiver, and you don't want to mess around with when it comes to head injuries like that.
Yeah, I would say, if we're getting into hypotheticals, if they were to lose Sunday, and I were T, I would maybe want to shut it down. Multiple concussions. Like,
Yep.
I just think you just want to step back from it for now. To me, that's way scarier than anything we've talked about with Burrow playing and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like, I just if that's the case, I think that's one where you can be like, let's just play it safe here. You don't need to be going out there taking another round of hits to your head when you just had this issue. So yeah, we'll see what comes of it. You assume he's not going to play this weekend, and then after that, I guess we'll see where it goes from there. But yeah, it is scary stuff when you start. If you step, I mean, getting concussions at all. I mean, these guys are built different than me. Like I'm like, let's keep growing flag football over here, and maybe that makes me soft, but I just you see this stuff, and it gets really scary with one, much less when you start stacking them with like what we've seen. Hate seeing that for T. Okay, the Bengals game. This is not really big news or surprising news. The Bengals game against the Dolphins is deflexed to 1 o'clock, no longer on Sunday Night Football. Sunday at 1. Hey, scribes rejoice. And so we'll take that. But again, the league having regrets putting the Bengals in prime time yet again, Jay.
Well, sort of. This is the third time in 4 years that they've been deflexed from a primetime game, but the other two were more related to the opponent. Like last year was a Thursday night game against Cleveland. When they deflexed that game, Cleveland was 3-10, and the Bengals were kind of just starting on that run at the end of the year. So that was more about Cleveland and getting a different game in Thursday night. And then in 2022, it was a game at Pittsburgh that was deflexed, and the Steelers were 3-6 at the time they announced that, and the Bengals were good in 2022. So it's now they did get flexed out of the 425 spot last week against Buffalo. Last year they got flexed out of the 425 spot in Philadelphia. Those weren't primetime games, but those are like national windows. So those were more related to where the Bengals stand. But for going from primetime to afternoon, it's not always about the Bengals.
It is quite the forgettable game on the schedule that day.
I don't know. Miami's getting interesting.
Miami is getting it. That's true. Miami is getting interesting, but they're still a ways off in the AFC playoff picture. And last, certainly, but not least, we must bring in this Trays of our lives. That's right.
Like sand through the hourglass, so are the days of our lives.
All right, so maybe our last chance to really enjoy the graphic of Katie and Trey here together. So take it in one last time as it comes out that Trey Hendrickson looks like he is now going to opt for surgery on the core muscle / hip / pelvis / whatever we're calling it now, injury / sports hernia that we're calling the Trey Hendrickson injury, that will keep him out for 6 weeks. But make sure, very clear from his camp, that he'll be just fine by the time he hits free agency. No issue there. So we have Trey Hendrickson essentially shutting it down after going 5 weeks after trying to come back against the Jets and going out early, re-aggravating the injury in that game, and didn't go on injured reserve because I think there was hope that Trey would be like, I can go and give you something. He couldn't, and so now he's shutting it down and going to get this surgery and be ready for his free agency period. We spent a lot of time on Trey Hendrickson last week, so I don't know how much deeper we need to go, but that's the news, Jay.
What's greater, the chances of the Bengals making the playoffs this year or the chances of Trey Hendrickson being in a Bengals uniform next year?
I think they're both about 3%. Well, I'll tell you what, the chance of Trey Hendrickson being in a Bengals uniform next year is probably would up the chances of me quitting this job. I don't know that I could do it again. I don't know that I could do another year of Trey Hendrickson drama. I mean, that would be insane. This is the it feels over. Has felt over, been over between these two sides. Because if I always we did it so much last week, so I don't want to go do it again, but it's a delicate situation. Only Trey knows. That's what I keep coming back to. Only Trey knows what is happening and how possible it would have been for him to come back in some capacity and give this team that desperately needed something. Only he knows if he could have actually gone out there rather than string it along and now opt for surgery at this point. Only Trey knows if he could have had the surgery immediately and left open the ability to come back later in the season if there was hope for this team to make a run or in the playoffs. Only Trey knows if this was something where he legitimately, absolutely couldn't have played through it. Only Trey knows.
You heard it, people. This beat is not big enough for the two of them, so you have to decide right now. Are you Team Paul or are you Team Trey? Who do you want back next year?
He could give you more wins. I'll tell you that. He'll give you more wins. I don't know how much I'm affecting winning or losing. He'll give you those.
I wish we could get someone out there that knows AI to take that Trays of Our Lives graphic and turn it into a video where Katie just shoves off of his chest and storms out of the room, and it's the breakup. It's the final breakup, like you see in soap operas. I do have some Trey Hendrickson stats here.
Okay.
So he finishes, supposedly, if he doesn't play again for the Bengals, he will finish as the number 5 on the team's career sack list. And some of you might be confused by that. We've gone over it before, but the Bengals recognize Eddie Edwards as their career sack leader with 83.5, even though most of them came before sacks became an official stat in 1982. They went back and watched game films and added up. Reggie Williams also had a bunch of sacks before that 82 cutoff, so he's 4th at 62.5. Carlos Dunlap 2nd at 82.5. Geno 75.5 is 3rd. Trey 61. He's 5th. In terms of sacks per game, Trey is by far the leader with 0.85. Dunlap 2nd with 0.53, Edwards 0.49, and Geno 0.47, Reggie 0.30. So that made me wonder, well, what about NFL history? Like 0.85 seems pretty good for a sack percentage, and it is good. He is tied for 7th best in NFL history with that 0.85 sacks per game. Reggie White, the only man in NFL history to average more than 1 sack per game, barely more than 1 per game, 124 sacks in 121 games, 1.02. Myles Garrett nipping at his heels at 0.94. Jared Allen, 0.89. These are Hall of Famers. Kevin Green, 0.88. Alden Smith, 0.88. TJ Watt, 0.86. And then Trey Hendrickson is tied with Chandler Jones at 0.85. This is among guys that played at least 16 games for a team. So again, Reggie White's is with the Eagles. This is per team. This is not entire career. He obviously had a great career with Green Bay too, but it wasn't quite as productive as that. So with the single team, Trey Hendrickson tied for 7th in best sacks per game percentage.
He has been the best free agent signing in Bengals history, and now he almost certainly exits to free agency to go somewhere else. All right, time for the Camargo Insurance Run Passer Boot. You know Josh, there he is. He's got the gavel. He is our judge and jury for Run Passer Boot this year. He's been a listener forever. You send suggestions into Josh at CamargoInsurance.com. he gives us the best one each week. When you work with Josh at Camargo, you know you're not getting the fluff. You're not getting the runaround. It's one-on-one help from somebody who gets it, and he's not your average agent. He is a certified insurance and risk professional who helps business owners protect what they've built and plan for what's next. So if you own a small business, reach out to Josh. Ensure you have peace of mind that you have the best coverage available. He works with the best carriers in the industry. He'll find the perfect coverage for your home, auto, business, life insurance, whatever you or your small business needs. His mission is to empower you to live your best life with confidence, knowing that your coverage makes sense. And he gave away 2 tickets to this Sunday's game, Bengals-Ravens, for everybody that got a free, no obligation quote. You can do that. Just email Josh at CamargoInsurance.com. Shout out the first guy couldn't make it. So I had to go to a second. We had a second winner, Jared Kirkpatrick. So shout out to Jared Kirkpatrick for being able to make it. And looking forward to hope maybe you'll be able to stop by our live show at 10 o'clock at BetMGM. If not, enjoy the game. Great to see you going. And another happy Growl Pal. And if you want to be happy, if you're ready for insurance that's simple, personal, and handled by someone who's a trusted Growl Pal, reach out to Josh at Camargo Insurance. This week comes from John M., and he says, who is the most likely defensive free agent to return next year? Most likely defensive free agent to return next year out of the 3 that have played the most. Geno Stone, Joseph Osai, Cam Taylor-Britt. Run, pass, or boot.
Well, I'm going to boot Geno Stone. I mean, you can't ask a guy to take a pay cut 1 year and then sign him to an extension the next year unless he plays really well, and that hasn't been the case. I think he's played a little bit better of late, but I think that has run its course. So it's for me, it's down to the other 2. I'm going to go with Joseph Osai, and I think the Bengals. I'd like to see them do something they don't typically do, and that's just go ahead and extend that guy right now. If he's willing to do it, if he's not adamant about testing the market and getting to March, and only once since 2016 have the Bengals given a guy extension in December. That was Trey Hopkins back in 2019. It's not something they do, but it would make sense here. I don't know what the production isn't there, but the Bengals love everything about Osai. You see he's still a young guy on the come. I would offer him an extension right now and just get it out of the way. Don't even let him get to free agency. Cam Taylor-Britt, his situation, I'll pass on him just because it's so murky with the injury. It's not like it's going to hamper him into next year or his career or anything like that. But there's that element of the uncertainty with the injury. And then I don't know, it just seems like he could be a guy that really wants to get out and test the open market. Maybe it doesn't land where he wants it to, and he comes back to the Bengals. But I think he'll be an interesting, well, really all these guys will be an interesting kind of glimpse into, I know money's the most important thing, but the buy-in with Al, and do guys want to be a part of trying to build this, or they're like, this is just, it's a wreck. I want to go somewhere else. It's a little more stable defensively, and maybe even if it's a little bit less, go play somewhere else and have a better chance of being a piece of something that is a little stronger defensively.
Agreed. You're booting Geno Stone here. I would run with Cam in terms of likelihood to actually be back. I think Osai will have a market, and I don't think the Bengals will be willing to meet that market. I don't think that they're buying Joseph Osai to the level that maybe another team might. He feels like a 3 years, 30, 3 years, 35 guy at this point. When you look at what he's done, and I think the Bengals probably view him as a 1 year, 7 guy. Again, they just signed. Yeah, I think that's probably where that is viewed. Surprising things happen all the time in free agency. Obviously, I mean, Jermaine Pratt signs back when you maybe didn't see it. BJ Hill comes back and you maybe didn't think that was going to happen. Like, these things happen. But I don't think necessarily that Osai is the answer there, but it's possible. He has done enough to make it a conversation. And I just think I don't think Cam's going to have much of a market. I think the injury is uncertainty. I think coming back here on a 1 year, prove it as the 4th corner in some kind of a competition would make sense for the Bengals. And I could see them saying, hey, let's try it again with Cam Taylor-Britt and see, and not buy in on him as CB1, but buying him as a competition in the back of the room with somebody that they know. That's kind of how I view it. All right. Remember, everybody at Camargo is awesome. So get a no obligation quote to make sure you have insurance you trust, whether for yourself or your small business. Contact Josh at CamargoInsurance.com. Let's flip it forward now with our good friend and yours, Mo Egger, joining the program. Mo, how are we doing?
Wonderful. How about you guys?
We're doing great. Off air, you made sure to let us know your answer to the Camargo Insurance Run Passer boot this week. Not your answer, just the boot, and that would be Geno Stone.
That's all I care about. Boot Geno Stone. Boot.
All I know is you were the first person I thought of when I recognized it was going to be a one-on-one in the snow between Josh Allen and Geno Stone for your season on Sunday.
I watched the game at Smoke Justice in Covington, and had you been a bystander, had you just been hanging out, you would have heard very loudly, "Here we go, Geno," coming from me, because I could see it. And I'm like, here it is. Here's the moment. Here's Geno Stone's moments. No. Of course.
Oh, no.
Here it is.
What a moment it could have been. Could you imagine the stunning disbelief if he would have made that tackle? We'd be talking about it for ages.
Oh my
Be a statue.
God. Yes. The Geno Stone game. It wouldn't have even mattered to me if the Bengals got the ball and didn't come back. Like, it would have Geno Stone puts the team on his back, tackles Josh Allen, keeps the game and season alive.
You know, we've talked in the past about when we did the whole Hall of Dishonor episode. I feel like the Geno Stone grasping at air is probably a statue in the Hall of Dishonor at some point, is where we end up with that.
Right next to Nick Vigil.
Yeah. Nick. Very similar statues, just change the faces, really.
Well, the statue of, and you can make a Barrett Carter statue that is literally him being a statue as the third string tight end just walks in front of him. Hey, I'm gonna go catch the ball over here, Barrett. Stand there. You're good. What are we doing?
How about that angle on the check down to James Cook?
Oh my God.
What are we doing? All right. So let's do this. Here I have one question as our jumping off point here. And it's sort of it's obviously a big picture one, but I just feel like Bengals fans, along with Joe Burrow in the post game, just feel a little beaten down by all of this. So my question for you is, where's your level of belief that the Bengals can right the ship and get this team back to being contenders in 2026? Let's go from 1 to 10. 10 being like C in the Super Bowl. One being fire everyone.
4.
Yeah.
4. Like, right the ship and be in the playoffs next year. Sure.
Be a contender.
Like, now the AFC is in a really interesting spot right now because the Chiefs dynasty seems over. The Bills are still formidable, as we saw on Sunday, but we've seen them kind of take a step back this year. The Colts bandwagon has crashed, and who knows what the state of that franchise is moving forward. Certainly the Patriots seem sustainable. Pittsburgh and Baltimore both seem to be at certain crossroads. And so there's a wide openness, which makes this year frustrating from a Bengals perspective, but I think there's a wide openness to the AFC, and we'll obviously see how the playoffs shake out and how the offseason shakes out, but it just feels like they're so far away. It feels like their undertaking on defense is such that it's going to take some time. It might not take 4 years, but it's going to take some time. You know, I go back to last year. Joe Burrow was awesome last season. They won 9 games. And, you know, last second dash to postseason contention, but you never talked about him in bona fide championship terms. And because of that, we never talked about this season in bona fide championship terms, even before it got started. And so I have a hard time believing that suddenly one off season is going to unfold where we go, you know what? This team is a legitimate Super Bowl contender. All hope is not lost because you do have Burrow. And this is something I think I've talked about with both of you guys, that the offensive line's pretty good right now. And so that's maybe not entirely fixed, but it's not something you have to overhaul this offseason, which I'm not sure if I would have said that back in September or early October, anybody would have believed me. But their undertaking on defense is so massive. They need so many things to go right. And I am muting from my Twitter feed and I am banning from our show the phrase "just got to be league average on defense," because got to be really good in the fourth quarter. Got to get stops in the fourth quarter. Got to get Josh Allen on the ground in the fourth quarter. Got to stop Jared Goff in the fourth quarter. Got to stop teams in the fourth quarter, which they haven't done at all this season. And I feel like it's going to be such an undertaking to get to a point where you could trust this defense late in games to win games, to give the ball back to the offense, to put them in a position to compete for championships, that it's going to take more than one off season.
Got to stop Justin Fields in the fourth quarter.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that shouldn't even be that hard.
Yeah. Right. Yes. Yeah. I mean, you're right.
I mean, as far as beaten down, Sunday, 18 degrees is the high temperature. The Bengals are 4-9. Will you be in the stadium and your season tickets and your season seats, or are you considering going to another establishment to watch this game?
I'm going to go to another sporting event because my daughter has a basketball game at 1:00 on Sunday. So I could not go to this past weekend's, and I can't go, not that anybody cares about my life, but I can't go to the one on the 21st because I have a UC basketball commitment. So this is the only one in the month of December I could go to. So I gave up my ticket, but I now have 2 for the Arizona game, which I will be at. And I'm sure there's going to be a long line of people just pushing each other out of the way to get that extra ticket to the Arizona game. So I'll be at Arizona and Cleveland. I will not be at Baltimore because I'm preferring to be a somewhat decent parent.
Jay, what's your answer to the belief? 1 to 10.
I'll go a little higher, maybe 6.4.
6.4.
Yeah, just shy of 2/3. I mean, I do think with they're gonna the things they ignored in free agency in the draft last year, they can't do again. Now they got to get it right, even if they target the right positions. So that's a concern. But I think there will be added pieces for Al Golden. I don't think Al's forgotten how to coach. I think you just kind of shake this off as a like you do with a rookie player that has a bad start, a rookie coordinator that has a bad start. So I've got a little optimism that they can make some strides defensively, and I don't think you have to worry about the offense, even if Burrow's injury history maybe is the biggest concern on that side of the ball. The O-line is playing better. You're going to have Gesicki, T, Jamar, all those guys. Maybe Gesicki's a little past his prime, but you've got all these
damn good
offensive
on Sunday.
Yeah, I know. Absolutely, and he's really found something with Burrow, and so I think offensively alone, you have to be over 5, and then I'm not bullish on this defense by any means, but I think they can do enough in the offseason, especially, you get Trey off the books. They can bring in some pieces to get to what Mo's favorite phrase is, and that's league average.
I will say, I don't even know that it's that. I think they have money. They will have draft picks of some sort. I think that what we saw Sunday, and I'm not trying to put on rose-colored glasses here. Those were 2 playoff teams. That was elite atmosphere. That was elite football.
Yeah.
Allen and Burrow exchanging haymakers, making wild plays. We talked about on rewatch yesterday. The Bengals defense, you saw the same things you saw through the last 3 weeks. The incremental growth. They're closer, but they still can't make the big play. They can't finish, right? They're not anywhere near there. But it was still that same, like, maybe things are headed in a better direction. I don't think the defensive problem is necessarily about scheme. The players continue to be bad. Like, that's the same problem that Lou Anarumo had is the same problem that we're seeing Al Golden have. The players continue to be bad. And so they can fix that. Now, will they? Will this be the 2021 offseason of microwaving the defense? Or will this be the Sheldon Rankins, whatever the hell happened this past year? I don't even know what to call this year because they didn't really do anything. But the Sheldon Rankins and the do nothing project. I don't know that for sure. I know that it's there. I know that it can be done. They have money to go add quality starting level NFL players on each level of their defense, plus a top 15 pick or whatever the hell it ends up being to this defense. Build it around DJ Turner. Miles Murphy is a number 2 edge. You have Shamar Stewart in year 2. Feels like a lottery ticket at this point. You need players, right? You need a disruptive 3 technique, probably 14 overall, right? You need a $10 million edge who can help you bridge the gap. Multiple pieces there. You need to boot Geno Stone. You need to boot the rookie linebacker project. You need to bring in a real linebacker. Bring in any of these guys. Every year there's like 5 guys who you can get for $7 to $10 million at linebacker to come in there and let the rest of those guys compete with maybe even another guy. Like, bring in something that is stability and starting level play at each level. And obviously your young guys are going to have to grow up around it. And you can get there. And you just need a little bit more because the offense is set. You don't need to add anything. They have that advantage right now where the offense is all in place, all back. The line is good. They have the pieces. I don't think it's that crazy of a task. It is but can they do it? Because we've seen multiple off seasons now where they've fumbled and, ended up where we're at this point. How many opportunities do they get? My number is a 7 because I do think that it's very possible, and I don't think they're idiots, but there's obviously a disconnect on being able to actually execute it because the last couple of years and what's happened.
Yeah, for me, I guess I just have so much distrust because of how the last few years have unfolded, and everything you just outlined. Like, my guess is some of that stuff will happen. For me to talk about this team in championship terms, all of that stuff has to happen. By the way, all of that stuff can happen over the course of a couple of seasons. If you said, well, what's the number that within the next 4 seasons, which is what they have Joe for 4 more, right? 6, 7, 8, 9. Yes. 4 more years. What's the level of confidence they can get back to a championship contending team, a legitimate championship contending team? And then within that window, maybe the number's a little bit higher. All of that stuff has to happen. You need, and if you just want to make a very sort of lazy 2021 versus 2026, comparison, they need a Trey Hendrickson, a Jesse Bates, a Von Bell, a Mike Hilton, a Logan Wilson and Jermaine Pratt, a Larry Ogunjobi, a BJ Hill. Like, there's lots of things, a DJ Reader, right? Lots of players that they acquired either in free agency or via the draft. I think I left out Von Bell, Chidobe Awuzie. Yes, if you could tell me next year they could have some version of all of those guys next year, championship team, chances are they'll get some of those dudes, new versions of some of those guys. I think they need all. And so each of those things can happen, and I would bet on that. I think for me to believe this team can win a Super Bowl next year, be the best team in the sport, the last team standing at the end of the season, for me to believe that they're bona fide contenders for that, I think all of those things have to happen. And I'm not sure in one off season, especially with their drafting track record, that's really that possible.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, that's what it comes down. You give them as many draft picks as you want. You still have to pick the right guys.
I don't know that all those things have to happen. I mean, that's a lot. I mean, you're basically replacing every single player.
Yeah, I want to do that. Yes, I want. That's what I would like to do. Yes.
I get it.
With the exception of DJ Turner, and I've seen enough Miles Murphy glimpses to feel like, okay, and if they brought back Joseph Osai, that's all right. Other than that, we were comparing them to like the Toledo Bears from 1906. That's how historically bad they've been. And so, yeah, I want a clean house. I want to start fresh. I want good NFL players. I cannot watch Demetrius Knight and Barrett Carter next year. I cannot drink the Kool-Aid when I read about it in June. Well, both those guys have had really good camps. they've rededicated themselves to watching film. And Al Golden traveled to Dimitri. I can read him now. Al Golden went and watched film with Barrett Carter all off season long in a shed in the woods, and he's rededicated himself to teaching Barrett Carter how to tackle a guy, and Demetrius Knight how to run without tripping on his feet. Like, no, I don't want to watch those guys. I want to watch Cam Taylor-Britt next year. I want to watch these bad safeties. I want to watch TJ Slayton get blocked every time. No, I want to overhaul everything. And over the course of a number of years, can that happen? Sure. Can it happen so much that suddenly I'll go, dude, look at the Bengals. That team's the front runner in the AFC. I just lack faith that they're going to be able to do that. And in large part because, this year, draft choices are going to make an instant impact. Okay, well, Dylan Fairchild, I think, is pretty good. The rest of them, And then all the previous draft classes making almost no immediate impact. It's just a lack of faith based on their track record and a lack of desire to see pretty much any of these guys come back. I want them all replaced. I know that's not realistic. I'm sure I'm going to hear about how Demetrius Knight learned how to play linebacker at the age of 42, whatever he is in one off season, and I'll have to buy into it. But I want an overhaul, and overhauls take time.
I understand that. By the way, I better be in that shed in the woods writing that story. Like, it's the most athletic story I've ever heard. But I understand that. I don't think that it's a complete overhaul. Well, one, that's not realistic. And I know you really don't like the league average thing, but like, I do think that there are steps to this where you can be a contender with a league average defense. I'm not saying they should aim for that or just try to get to league. I'm not saying that it should be like that, but that it's not like that isn't what we see teams make it to the Super Bowl doing. That's the composition of teams that can win championships. And we're talking about being a contender. It can be a 2-year project, and you can be early enough where by the end of next year, you have a team that is starting to play at a top 10 level. And that's not having to be can still be, you need another off season to put the finishing touches on it being a top 10 group. I just think that there's enough ability in today's NFL, and with their ability to focus all of what they're doing on that side of the ball to be able to give enough of an overhaul to what currently exists to make it a decent group. And I think that's fair. I don't, the idea of gut every single piece of this is unrealistic. And maybe over the course of the next 2 years, that's what happens. But I think you can get it to a decent level next year. A lot of things absolutely have to go right. I don't think it has to be a true, like, everything must go yard sale in order to make it good enough.
I would like to clear out all the 2025 players to make room for 2026 players. That's what I would like, but I know that's not entirely realistic. I will acknowledge this, and I think this is important, that there's only one thing on their plate this offseason. There's not a star wide receiver and the ins and outs of determining whether or not to keep him. There's, I would like to think, no more Treys of our lives, which you guys were just talking about. The offensive line, look, you can never have enough. I'm not doing cartwheels about Orlando Brown being back next year and playing at a high level, but it's not like they have to fix their offensive line and their defense. The pieces are in place there. So it ain't that hard to identify where the areas they need to address are. That helps. That certainly does help. They're going to draft reasonably early. That certainly does help. But again, like, I think it's so hard to win a championship. And it's so hard to be considered like one of the true bona fide title contenders. And look, sometimes teams start overhauls and they end up performing ahead of schedule. It's kind of what happened in 2021, right? Like holy crap, this team that we thought was fun and interesting for much of the season, by the end of the year, like, boy, you don't want to play them in the postseason. And they started snowballing, and in large part because of their defense got to within an eyelash of a championship. But much of it is for all of his accomplishments with the roster over the course of his time in Cincinnati, I'm putting a lot of faith in Duke Tobin to get this done in one off season. And at least I'm being asked to, and I can't get there. I cannot get there. So that's the level of confidence, the lack of confidence is as much based on that as anything. And I just, yes, the league average defense, I understand it, but to me, like, a championship team wins a game in a lot of different ways. And in 2021, they did. 2021, they won games where the offense was kind of stuck in the mud. At the beginning of the season, that was my question. Like, can you win a game where Joe's not at his best? Can you win multiple games where the offense just doesn't have it? Or maybe Joe has to go in the tent and he can't come back. Can you win games where you score 13 points and your defense just figures out a way? Can you win games with special teams? Can you win games in shootout fashion? I mean, I think for me to look at your team and go, you can win a title, I have to believe you can win games in a variety of ways. This team can't. Not against hard teams, not multiple times. So I want to look at the team next year and go, they can win a slog. They can win in bad weather. They can beat you with their offense, but they could also win when their offense isn't at its best. They can win when the quarterback throws a mind-numbingly bad interception in the fourth quarter. The defense can still bail the team out. The defense can get stops in the fourth quarter multiple times. The defense can close games. The defense can give the ball back to their best in the league quarterback. I need to look at the team and feel like the answers are yes to all those things in tough environments on the road against elite competition. It is going to take a lot. It is going to take so much. I think for me to objectively look at the team and go, yeah, Duke Tobin has built a team that can do that. Do I think that can happen over the course of a number of years? Sure. Yes. For that to happen suddenly in one off season, man, I hope it does. There'd be nothing better. Be no cooler story. I don't have a ton of faith that can't happen. But if I'm wrong, let's run this back in a year, and I will gladly say that I was incorrect.
I'm interested to see what the fan base would think if they're closer to where Paul's number or they're closer to Mo's number. I mean, I think it's probably split, but I agree with you in some regard.
I think the fan base is closer to zero.
Yeah, right.
Judging by my mentions.
Yes, it is interesting because they can't just sell out and do all defense, because you mentioned it, Mo, with Orlando Brown Jr. Not just whatever faith you have in him, but you got to start looking. Maybe it's Amarius Mims, but you do have to start kind of looking for a left tackle of the future. And you're not going to sign a guy like that in free agency with all this money invested elsewhere. So that's going to have to be an early pick, and you got to start looking to eventually replace Ted at center. So they cannot just, even though they need so much help on defense, they can't just go 100% defense in this offseason.
I mean,
I would like for him to.
Yeah,
but
I
you are absolutely right.
I don't care about you're right. Like, they do need a left tackle of the future, and they do need to think about those things. They also need a defense that isn't compared to the Takawanda Cardex. Okay. And that is where this has to start. And my parting shot on this would be, I do think that it has the crappiness has built on itself. Bad players being around mediocre players make mediocre players really bad players, right?
Mm-hmm.
Bringing stability and quality starting level play that you can depend on through free agency. I keep calling it the like 10 million at each level player. It can help everybody else not play so bad. I think it can help younger players develop. It can help bring stability to those. The problem is when the criminal decision to play two rookie linebackers next to each other makes them both worse. The growing pains are worse. That is part of the problem when you're playing bad players, when you bring back Geno Stone, knowing what it is, and it makes things harder on Jordan Battle and on everybody in the secondary. Not getting pressure up front, not having Trey Hendrickson, all of that stuff makes it harder on the other guys. You bring in a higher level of player, I think it can bring you a little bit better player of some of the guys that are currently here. You're just gonna have to depend on them next year. In some people here, as much as it would be all 25 of you must go, you're gonna have to count on some of. That's just the reality of it. And I do think bringing in serviceability at each level can help do that. That's all. But you're right. Maybe the best point in all of this is, how many people can get there with Duke Tobin right now, being able to pull it off when what we've seen the last 2 years is not being able to do so, or making decisions of reinvesting in certain players when it was clearly time to cut bait, and understanding who to keep and who to go after. If they can do that, if they can create a clearer vision, whether it's with Al Golden or a restart or whatever it ends up looking like, the potential is there because of how the offense is set up. But
I think if you ask most Bengals fans, the frustrating thing about Duke Tobin's job performance over the last couple of years is that we could see a lot of the failures coming from a mile away, because so we're asking Duke Tobin to do the obvious, but he's failed at that, right? Like, don't draft Jermaine Burton when one of his coaches is on TV saying, I don't know, man. Well, they did. That's a premium pick, man. They got 4 catches out of the guy. That's isolated. But, hey, the Trey Hendrickson thing, let's not have this snowball. Let's trade him away. Well, they didn't. Great. Got a great year out of trade, didn't you? Hey, let's fix a defense that last year wasted the greatest single-season performance by a quarterback in franchise history. I don't know. We're going to bring back all these guys. Hey, maybe it's not a good idea to play rookie linebackers next to each other with no safety net. Well, we're going to do that anyway. It's failed to historic proportions. There have just been, hey, some will say, hey, don't draft a guy who had a sack and a half last year. Don't turn on the tape and find a guy who makes plays. Well, they took Shamar Stewart. Shamar may still work out. Who knows? But the rookie season has been a wash. And so I think for a lot of fans, it's been, the team is bad, but so many of the things, like, is it a big surprise that Geno Stone has stunk this year? No, because he was bad last year. Like, so many of the things that have happened, you could sort of see coming from a mile away. And Duke was either powerless against it or too inept to fix those things. Neither engender much goodwill or trust. And so I think that's where most fans are. My guess is you're not going to have many who say 0, because why would you say 0 when you have Joe Burrow in an offense, right? Like, that's silly. But I think it's going to be below 5 for a lot of people, because you couldn't see Joe Burrow getting hurt, but many of their issues were not that difficult to predict, were not that difficult to see coming. And so Duke Tobin couldn't fix the obvious. Now we're going to trust him to fix the obvious this offseason. Again, I'm sure they will be better in certain areas next year, because it's hard to be worse. But to go from worst of all time to a defense you can win a championship with, hope it happens. Hope it happens. I need to see it before I believe it.
That is the perfect way to wrap this up. I think we answered it. I think we solved it. The bottom line is there's a lot of work ahead of the Cincinnati Bengals, and a lot of goodwill that they need to engender in the fan base that doesn't currently exist after this year. But see y'all there on Sunday.
Unless you want to come watch some 3rd grade girls basketball on the west side of Cincinnati. Yeah. Big game. I forget the name of the school we're playing, but big. So, you have those folks who are like, you know what? I'm done watching. I'm not even going to watch the game. I'm going to go do something else. 1:00 on Sunday. Huge early season tilts. And it would be even bigger if I could tell you the school we're playing. Huge early season tilts in the on the west side of Cincinnati. If you love girls 3rd grade basketball, boy, I've got an alternative to the Bengals game for you.
Will there be more points scored by the Ravens or by both of these 3rd grade girls teams combined?
Game 1, it was a 12-10 barn burner. We lost. Now, I was not able to go to that game because I had station responsibilities for the game in Buffalo. But what I've heard they're working on. I've actually heard they're working on doubling the other team's best player. Which
what?
Yeah. So what
Can you
they're
do
working
that?
on? what they're working on is a defense where if the other team has a player who's really good, they send another defender at her. And you're allowed to use this in men's college basketball as well. It's this novel concept where dude is going off and the other team's like, cool, we're going to put 2 defenders on him. See if somebody else can beat us. The University of Cincinnati doesn't have time to work on that. Fortunately, in the one practice we have every week, I am told by our head coach, Erin Wainscott, I'll give her a shout out, that they're working on that strategy for Sunday's 1:00 tilt. My kids' team against some other team, it's going to be huge. So if you're out on the Bengals, but you still need a sports fix on Sunday, come to the West Side, 3rd grade girls basketball. It's going to be insane.
Let's go. We're not far from Wayne Scott showing up on one of those, like, BetMGM lists of odds to replace the next head coach, right? Wayne Scott for UC. If this works.
Simple question, Aaron. And look, this is for fun, but if the other team has a player who's like, and I think we're still, because the game last week was the first game. 1st and 2nd grade basketball was each player wears a wristband, and you're only allowed to guard the player wearing the same color wristband as you. If that's the same thing we're doing in the 3rd grade, then maybe we can't double team. Perhaps that's what they were doing at the Cintas Center on Friday. I didn't see any wristbands. I don't know. But 1:00 Sunday, it's going to be electric.
Mo, I appreciate it. Thanks for this. Appreciate your time.
Maybe I'll come to the game late and see all the people streaming out at halftime after Isaiah likely has 205 yards in the first half with Barrett Carter standing there watching. Maybe I'll show up. I don't know. We'll see you guys. Thanks.
Bye, Mo. Thanks again to Mo Egger for joining us. Jay, I don't know if we accomplished anything, but it was fun.
I want to know if his daughter's 3rd grade basketball, if they charge admission, or if it is just anybody that wants to come can come.
Let's get like a real big, like a growler section instead of a student section. We just have a bunch of Growl Pals show up to support the team.
Yep. Why not?
We're not far from that. I feel like if that Browns game in week 18 ends up being what it looks like it could be, maybe we just organize a growler section at one of Mo's daughter's games.
Yeah, especially if the weather, 18 degrees is pretty freaking cold for a game on Sunday. If it's like that for that finale against the Browns, that could be the day.
Great. Looking forward to it. Look, you mean the game against the Browns is going to decide whether they sneak on into the playoffs or not, Jay?
Or send them home happy.
3% chance. 3% chance still alive. Look, the Bengals beat the Ravens on Sunday. All of you are going to be sitting there Monday Night Football rooting your ass off for the Dolphins. You know it's coming.
Yep.
You're going to be right back on board. Okay, let's get into – you got some trivia for me?
I do. So I don't know. I think most people probably saw that the Colts were going to give Phillip Rivers a tryout after Daniel Jones went out with the Achilles injury. And yesterday was when that news broke. And yesterday was 1,800 days exactly since Phillip Rivers' last completion in the NFL. So I had to build a database with multiple filters and do all this because you can't just look up what's the longest record between completions for a quarterback in the NFL. So I did it. It was a bit of a project. It was a longer project than the Jermaine Burton highlight film. The record for most days between completions for a quarterback in the NFL is 3,248 days. That belongs to Doug Flutie because he left the NFL and went to play in the CFL for 8 seasons, and then he came back. His 3rd game back was in 1988, and he beat the Bengals. That was their Super Bowl year. They started 6-0. They go to New England as 5-point favorites. Doug Flutie beats them. Big upset. So that he holds the record for quarterbacks, but he does not hold the NFL record overall for any player completing passes. That is 4,060 days, and that belongs to Hall of Fame running back Tony Dorsett.
Wow.
He threw a 34-yard halfback pass to Drew Pearson in his rookie year, week 5 of his rookie year. And then in 1988, while he was playing for the Denver Broncos at the end of his career, he threw a 7-yard touchdown pass to Sammy Winder. So 11 years between completion. The only 2 completions, the only 2 attempts of his career, 11 years apart, 4,060 days. I'm going to venture a guess that's going to stand forever.
That's a long time.
It is.
And I don't know, and if it's probably is most likely to be broken by a running back, and I don't know that we're going to have any running backs that play that long ever again.
Maybe a punter, maybe a punter that does a fake punt, 12, because punters last pretty long in this league.
That's true. That's it. That's the only hope.
Yeah.
You need a Kevin Huber like 2009 pass and then a 2024 pass. So maybe that's what it is. I don't know. So we'll have to look who the potential active streak leaders are in that one. But good stuff. All right. Growler bet Redux. Our Growler bet from this past week was Bills rushing yards, knowing that could go a lot of different ways. And it went the way you probably thought it would go. Maybe less. 183 yards on the ground for the Buffalo Bills. Now, Josh Allen had a large chunk of those just on a couple of runs. But still a big day for the Bills on the ground, 183 yards. There were a number of you guys, in that zone. And so I credit you. We had Adam Gardner had 184. So close. Daniel Bayless, 180. So close. We had, somebody didn't give me a last name named Jeff. 182, so close. Oh. Guess what? Mitchell Jacobs, 183.
Wow.
Nailed it. Congratulations to you. That was a hard one where we even, could have considered giving a range on that one because it could have been anything. The Bengals rushing yards given up has been all over the map, but Mitchell Jacobs didn't need a range, just came right in and hit it right on the bullseye. So hit me up, Mitchell. Let me know when you're going to come down to one of our live shows if you can, and we will hook you up with drinks on me. If not, if you can't make it, we'll arrange something else for you to make sure you get hooked up. But congrats to Mitchell. Just pulled it out. Well done. Plenty of solid subject headers as we get into the Christmas season, and a lot of people pulling out some comments, things that we have done or said recently. Let's see. We have Timothy Clements offers, my Growler bet got lost in the mosh pit in an Anthrax concert for you, Jay.
Nice.
You've probably been to a mosh pit in an Anthrax concert, haven't you?
No, I've been to an Anthrax concert. If there was a mosh pit, I'm not, even back in the day, I wasn't part of mosh pits. I get away from them now. They don't tend to attack people that aren't in the mosh pit, but things happen. And if you're close, number one, it's hard to watch the show because that's a lot of craziness right there next to you. And number two, people get thrown, and I'm not trying to get hurt at a concert.
I love that it's like, well, obviously I've been to an Anthrax concert, but it's just I haven't been to the mosh pit. It's good. All right. Daniel Ducart, Paul is right about Thanksgiving Growler. Thank you. I like when people are giving me the kudos that the Christmas season is too long. We need to focus on Thanksgiving and then start the Christmas season properly. Mark is very much in the wrong on that one. And Mark has somehow, by the way, turned this into that I'm anti-Christmas. That was, or that I think that Thanksgiving individually is better than Christmas. That was never the point of this.
No.
It's not what I've ever been saying. I said that there are seasons for this. The Christmas season should start after Thanksgiving, not after Halloween. There are rules. It diminishes the beauty of the Christmas season if you make it too long. That's all. It needs to be a certain amount of time. All right. Anyway, sorry. Joe Hyde says Growlington Bet Factory, which I don't know. I just liked that one. He said, quote, we're more than just coat jokes. I liked that. I just liked that one. Mike Loomis, the Growler Bet, it's a major award. Shout out to Christmas Story reference there. Andy Kalina says, Uno with his coverage so tight, won't you burn Darius Slay tonight?
Good.
Liked that. Well done.
Yep.
Very Christmassy. Michael Creasap dropped in a Growler Bet submission power rankings since we were discussing power rankings. He had number 5, anything that makes Paul or Jay sing, which I feel like is definitely an insult that we deserve. Number 4, 80s, 90s themed. Number 3, tuna in a can. Number 2, The Big Lebowski. Number 1, anything by the legend Ray White. I agree with your number 1. Anything from the legend Ray White is obviously number 1. Speaking of Ray White this week, the simplicity and the callback of this one I enjoyed from Ray White. Better send those Growler bets, going back to the refunds game against the Bills back in 2022, which a forgotten storyline of the last time that they went to Buffalo. See, it doesn't have to be elaborate to have a good point. That's what legends do. So shout out to Ray White and everybody that got in on the Growler bet. We'll have more next week. And Mitchell Jacobs, hit me up. Congratulations. What a pull. 183.
You know, that Josh Allen run that clinched the game was originally an 18, and then they switched it to a 17. So that made the difference in the guy that had 184 and Mitchell.
Bad beat for Adam Gardner.
Yes.
Oh, that is. I did not realize that they changed it. That is gross. Well, too bad, Adam. All right, here we go. Arby's time. I have an Arby's, Jay.
Okay.
From the trip to Buffalo. So people that really listen know that we, prefer driving to Buffalo. It's a little like 6.5, 7 hours. We've done it before. Jay, I think you did it in about 2.5 hours. Last time we went, it felt like
about 6 hours and 10 minutes, I believe.
You cut some time off. But that said, in December, I kind of vowed I'm not taking chances with whatever the weather will happen to be. I'm just going to fly. I hate flying to Buffalo. There's no direct flights. You got to go through connections. But I was like, I'm just going to do it. I had a flight that connected through Philly, and the connection was already going to be kind of tight. So, but whatever. So I get there, and I've got my earbuds in, and I'm listening to whatever, the book or whatever. And there's no delays. There's nothing about anything being an issue with the current flight. I'm just sitting. All of a sudden I look up and I'm like, should be boarding soon. There's no plane. Like, oh, this isn't good. Man, if we get delayed here, I'm going to miss my connection. What am I going to do? And then a plane eventually shows up, but they still hadn't put any time on the delay. And I was like, man, this was going to be so tight. Now, I remembered earlier in this week, our great friends at Fox 19, Joe and Jeremy, were going to be riding in the Champ, the Fox 19 car, the Fox 19 SUV, up to Buffalo because they were staying in town and covering the crosstown shootout. And they had mentioned that week they were leaving at noon. I'm looking at it. It's like 11:20. I'm like, man, there's a really good chance I miss my connection. It would be way too tight. I'm going to be uncomfortable. I could end up stranded in Philadelphia. So then I'm on with my travel agent for our company. And I'm like, hey, is there another flight that I can get switched onto? They're like, we're looking. I don't know. I don't know that we can. I've got that in my right hand. Eventually we get to the point where they're boarding in front of me. I'm like, boarding group 6. And I'm like, oh my God. You ever seen Speed? I know, Jay, you don't watch movies all the time. You ever seen Speed?
I have seen that one.
Reeves, when they're like, when Sandra Bullock is driving, it's like, stay on or get off. Stay on or get off.
Yeah.
Stay on or get off. Yelling that. And I felt like that. Like, do I go through that door and get on this plane and maybe get stranded in Philadelphia? Joe and Jeremy say, if you can get to Fox 19, you can hop on ride with us. Or my travel agent is saying, I'll keep looking and see if I can find anything. What do you do? If you're listening right now, what would you do? Take your chances and get on that plane? I said, no. The last thing I want is to be stranded in Philadelphia trying to get to Buffalo. So I left. I bolted from CVG, drove back to Fox 19 studios, hopped in the Champ, and me and Joe and Jeremy rode it out all the way to Buffalo. And I got there in time to make my dinner reservation. It was a little longer than it could have been. And I believe I would have been stranded in Philadelphia. The travel agent ended up saying, yeah, we can't get you there till 11 o'clock at night.
That's
So
no
I
good.
think I'm pretty sure I made the right call. But man, it was like it really did feel like a scene from a movie where I'm standing there with the three doors in front of me of which one do I walk through? Where do I go? What do I try to do? And I ended up, God bless Joe and Jeremy. They win MVPs of this trip for being there to respond quickly so that I knew it was an option and then let me hop up with. We had a great time too. Anybody that's ever been around those two or you've heard them on the show before, it's a good time and a lot of laughs when we had a great time with the trip. So shout out to them for driving the whole way and getting me up there.
Which one drove?
Jeremy is the driver. That is his preferred spot.
Same.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why I like rolling with you and Jeremy because I prefer not to. So that's great. Appreciate them doing that. So it was fun. It was a good trip, and Buffalo was pretty demoralizing. Not gonna lie, it's really cold and snowy and terrible everywhere you go. Buffalo, I love the people there are great, salt of the earth, but man, that weather will just beat you down. It's just. By the way, really cool. I tweeted out a video. They have the stadium, their new $2 billion stadium that the state of New York has funded for them, right across the street from Highmark Stadium. And they're in the last year. The new stadium will be available for them next year. It's so wild to see a monstrosity that size. The size of it's kind of like SoFi in LA or the Benz in Atlanta. Any of these newfangled billion-dollar stadiums, they're just massive, right? And it looks that way. Although there is no dome on it, which is kind of funny. It's still going to snow inside of it. The seats won't get as much, and they'll all be heated, so they won't have to ask the city of Buffalo to come dig them out anymore. But it's so weird to see this giant monstrosity still in Orchard Park, just in a neighborhood where people have porta potties in their front yard, so you can pee there after you park. It's just crazy that it didn't end up more in or near downtown Buffalo, a little bit more into a main area. It's just still out there, just where Highmark is, out in the middle of nowhere in this neighborhood in Buffalo. So, hey, good for them. I'm glad they got a better stadium because Highmark is it's time, shall we say?
Past time.
But it's still so weird just to see it. There it is, right across the street, the new monstrosity they're going to move into.
I guess it's like, everybody's been used to going out there for years, whereas where it's different with Cleveland because they're going to go from downtown out into the suburbs and people are upset about that. But I guess because they've been going to Orchard Park for years, it just makes sense to keep it there. SoFi is built down into the ground. I heard that the new one in Buffalo was way up tall because the whole point is to try to cut down the wind. And I thought I saw somewhere there's going to be a retractable roof. They've just kind of closed the opening, so not
it's
as
like a
much
soccer
snow.
roof. If you've seen the soccer stadiums that kind of cover where the seats are, but you're still, the snow's still coming in.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. You're not getting that. So you still do get the elements of the game, but they hope that it's going to be better. I don't know all the details on how the new stadium is going to work. It does seem like that's going to cut back on the wind and a lot of this, you're not going to have the same problems with fans having to deal with as much of the weather. But man, those benches look cold in the Highmark. the one that they're in now, it is unbelievable. Just snow, wet, ice, all on every single seat. These people showing up, and they're used to it. This is what they do, and it was a fun atmosphere to watch. But that looked like a miserable viewing experience. We did a lot here today, and
we did.
We'll have we've done a lot over the last 3 days. We've covered the last game twice. And we've now gone full into what's happening next. Bengals-Ravens on Sunday at Paycor. We have our Christmas show. We hope to see you down at BetMGM. Come down and walk away with fabulous prizes. We pretty much guarantee it at this point. So we hope to see you there. We'll have prediction and who they like coming to you still later this week. Keep it locked. All right. Thanks, everybody, for listening, for watching. We'll talk to you next time. Have a good one.